All right, I'm gonna do an inventory on the pens. I sent 6 extras back there for the first 18, so some. Okay. Here. Should be one right here, man. Take that one.
Just on high quality, please.
They're not high quality. They sure charged me enough for them. They were kind of pricey, but I'm gonna get y'all the cheap ones next time. If y'all want pencils, I need your pencils right now. But I didn't buy them. Would y'all rather have the, you rather have a blanket?
Huh?
Did you say you'd rather have a blanket?
No, I'm left-handed. I don't like pencils.
Okay. Yeah, Whitney's left-handed too. All right, y'all ready to continue on?
Yes, sir.
All right, call your witness, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. State calls Travis Presley.
Once you're seated, state your full name, spelling your last name.
Travis Presley, Presssley.
Lieutenant Presley, where do you work?
Work for Kirkland Correction Institution, Department of Correction.
South Carolina Department of Correction
Yes, sir.
at Kirkland. And where is Kirkland located?
Broad River Road.
Back in September 12th of 2014, do you recall defendant Tim Jones being brought in for safekeeping into Kirkland?
Yes, sir.
As lieutenant, were you responsible for meeting him at reception?
Yes, sir.
Can you describe the area where this took place?
The area is called the Maximum Security Unit where we work at. It's called MSU. It's a high-risk area to where like inmates are causing a problem within the institution. They got a high-risk case. So it's like a maximum security, like Rikers Island, like an area to where it's like 2 doors, and it's all air pressure doors, and we house them separated from regular general population inmates.
Mr. Jones is being brought there from Lexington for safekeeping.
Yes, sir.
Can you tell us, as you met him, what happened and what you heard?
When inmate Jones first approached or came to our institution, when he first came in, I explained to him the procedure that we got to do. We had to strip search. We had to do our normal strip search, fingerprint him, and then go to the medical station area. So as they brought him in, the the sheriff department, whoever brought him in, they left the area, and when that door closed, I guess reality kicked in to where he knew he was in prison. So as we proceed on doing our normal procedures, then, strip searching him, about to get his haircut, taking him medical, he got emotional, and I guess everything that started coming out, and he started explaining of the incident that occurred or what he did.
Let me ask you this, Lieutenant. When that happened, do you have special training that you've gotten through the Department of Corrections to handle when an inmate gets emotional?
Yes, sir. I'm also a coach and an instructor for a class called CIT, which is called Crisis Intervention Team Training. I was doing that for like 5 years, and we are trained to de-escalate problem situations and to calm individual or staff member down.
Did you use your training with Mr. Jones at that time?
I didn't have to use it, but when the training I used was the listening skills, because we always listening for keywords, but this type of action that he was saying, it wasn't no need to use my crisis intervention training because the thing I was looking for is what he was telling me. So as he explained to me the incident, I just been listening and gathering all the information.
Now, when he talks, when an inmate, say it's not Mr. Jones, do you just let them talk themselves down? Is that one of the techniques? One
of the techniques is to let them de-escalate by listening to them talk, and as they talk, they kind of settle themselves down as they're getting all the anger or whatever they want.
Is that what you were allowing Mr. Jones to do that, just talk?
Yes, sir.
Now, were you questioning him, saying, well, then what happened, and then what happened, and then what happened after that?
No, sir.
So was this something that he just voluntarily started talking, or is this something that you instigated
No, sir. He volunteered talking.
voluntarily? What did he tell you when he was brought in your presence?
Okay, he was explaining to me about how wrong what he did, how he felt sorry and he was wrong for what he did. You want me to explain?
Yeah, go ahead.
But the incident that he explained to me that I recall was one of his sons, the youngest or the oldest, one of them son was messing with the socket, and I guess he got angry because he could have killed himself or whatever, and to what he was saying that he grabbed his son and started strangling him, choking him. And he said, I guess his hands was too big that he couldn't really put his hands around the neck real good, so he grabbed a belt, and he used the belt to start strangling his son. And the daughter, one of the daughters, I don't know if the oldest or the youngest, the daughter walked in, and he saw the daughter, and then he grabbed her. And the thing that really got to me when he said he choked the daughter so hard to where she turned purple.
He said he killed them?
Yes, sir.
Now, as to the belt, do you recall, to the best of your memory, was it the child who was messing with the outlets, or do you recall at this point in
I
time?
can't recall if it was the child that messed with the outlet or the youngest. I can't recall which one
Do
it
you
was.
remember the belt?
I remember the belt.
He said he used a belt
He used a belt.
on one of his kids.
To my knowledge, I think it was the youngest one or a young one because I recall when he said the neck was too small to where he couldn't get his hand around real good, so he had to use a belt.
Now, when this happened, were y'all told to write stuff down?
We was told to write stuff down. Yes, sir.
And did you do that?
Yes, sir. I write the incident report.
And I'll show you what you've written. Just to show you, refresh your memory too, about what you've written.
He hadn't asked that, it's no refresh.
Well, I'll ask the question.
Ask the question.
Is the information about the belt and the daughter on there?
Want me to read it?
No, sir, no, sir. You just look at what you wrote back then.
It's about the socket. Yes, sir.
About the socket, about choking the
And choking, yes,
boy
sir.
that messed with the socket.
Yes, sir.
Now, let me ask you about the additional information. When you wrote this statement, what was going on that you needed to write a statement?
Well, it was a lot of activities going on because we had, other obligations to do, like feed. We had to do shower. We had other inmates coming in. So it was kind of busy that day to remember everything to write on the incident report. So we just had to write. I just had to write what I remember because we had too many duties to do.
Was this something you had to do right then, get it done, and then move on to the next
Yes,
task?
we had to do it right then.
Part of the task, still walking Mr. Jones through that process?
Yes, sir.
Now, were there a lot of other folks around?
Yes, there was a couple of people around.
Do you remember what, if anything, he said he did to the daughter?
It's only that incident.
Okay, that he choked her till she
He
turned
took it
purple?
to turn purple.
Did he say she died as well?
Yes, sir.
That's all I've got at this time, Your Honor.
Afternoon, Lieutenant Preston.
Afternoon, sir.
I believe you said you've got about 20 years of experience in training in corrections.
Yes, sir.
And during that experience in training, y'all learned how to write reports.
Yes, sir.
You learned that report writing was going to be an important part of your job.
Yes, sir.
That your reports needed to be truthful, right?
Yes, sir.
They needed to be accurate.
Yes, sir.
That they needed to be reliable.
Yes, sir.
Because corrections is sort of a transient job for some people, right? And there's a lot of people coming and going as far as employment goes.
Yes, sir.
And sometimes you don't know what was happened, or you weren't present when something happened, and you have to go back and look at somebody else's report to rely on that to determine what happened?
No, we don't have to do that.
You don't think when people say, write up a report about an inmate getting in trouble, maybe that officer is no longer there and somebody else has to rely on that report?
No.
You don't think that happens?
Because if something happens, so that means each of us got to write our own separate incident report.
Sure. And those reports go to other people in the chain of command, right?
Yes, sir.
And those people rely on those reports to determine appropriate outcomes,
Yes, sir.
right? Decide whether or not an inmate's guilty or not guilty of a violation, right?
Yes, sir.
They rely on those reports,
Yes, sir.
which is why it's important that they be truthful, accurate, and reliable,
Correct.
right? Now, there were other people present during, you said this is right when Mr. Jones first arrived, right?
Yes, sir.
He gets off the van, he's in full shackles.
I can't recall what he had on. Yeah, he had on, yes.
Belly chain,
I can't recall. I know he probably had on handcuff, belly chains, whatever they bring him in. I can't recall what he had on. But when they did bring him in, we had to put our own stuff on. So I think they probably did have stuff on, like a
you
handcuff.
had to put your own stuff on.
Yeah.
Anytime an inmate's out of their cell in MSU, they're in full restraints,
For
right?
restraints, yes.
That includes ankle chains,
Yes,
that includes a belly chain,
yes, sir.
it includes a box on the front.
Black box, yes, sir.
Right, the black box.
Mm-hmm.
So everything's like this, right?
Yes, sir.
And you have a dog leash that's clipped to the back of them to maintain control,
A
right?
lead chain, yes, sir.
It looks like a dog leash. Is that right?
Yes, you're right, correct.
Okay. And anytime anybody's out of their cell, it's
The
mandatory
normal
that
procedure, yes,
they be restricted in that fashion.
yes, sir.
So Mr. Jones was in this fashion, in the Sally Port, and there are other officers present, right?
Yes.
There's Officer Boyd, right?
Officer Boyd,
And Officer Hawkins,
Sergeant Hawkins, yes.
and Officer Stroman
Sergeant Stroman was there,
wasn't there.
wasn't around the area then.
Okay. Everybody was asked to give a statement regarding what they had heard.
Yes,
And you wrote down the time that the incident, right?
yes.
And that was at 2:20,
Approximately 2:20,
approximately 2:20. So that's right when he got there, right?
yes,
And then you also listed the time that you wrote your report,
yes.
and that was approximately 3:30.
3:30, okay. Okay,
You wrote your report at approximately 3:30,
yes,
not right as it happened,
no.
about an hour later.
It can still be between 30 minutes to an hour later, but as long as we still get it within that time frame.
Sure, I thought your testimony was that you wrote it right then.
Not right after we finish the incident, no.
Okay,
Once we get them situated and stuff, which was not that long, then we had to write it.
okay. So you got situated at around 2:20, and then you wrote your report.
Then we write the report.
Okay, and that was at 3:30, right?
Correct.
Okay. Now, your truthful, accurate, and reliable report, you said, he continued on stating that his oldest son was messing with the electrical socket, right?
It's on the report, yes.
No objection to going in evidence, John.
I don't have a clean copy.
I know that I do.
His oldest son was messing with the electrical socket to where inmate Jones got angry.
All right, wait. That's not a question.
And also, it misread. It says older, not oldest.
Ask questions. If y'all can find a clean copy, y'all want to put in evidence, you can. You're editorializing a lot.
Yes, sir.
Move on.
Lieutenant Presley, you wrote down his oldest son was messing with the electrical socket?
If he can see.
You don't need to look at him to answer.
No, I'm looking at the report that he has.
He's entitled to a copy. I'll give him my copy.
Yeah. Don't misread it.
I'll put it over.
Okay.
Well, if he wants to put it in evidence, he's got to do that, publish it, and I have no problem with it.
Well, I mean, y'all got all these highlights and stuff on there. That's why I thought y'all
I
were
tell you
getting
what,
them to put it in.
mine doesn't have it, I'll put mine in. Your Honor, I object to publishing before it's in evidence.
Well-
If you want to put this in evidence, put it in evidence. It's plain, plain enough. Is it going in evidence?
Maybe that's right screen now.
Somebody does, I don't.
Yeah, our dispenser officer number 126, Lieutenant Presley statement in evidence.
Certainly no objection.
Without objection.
Lieutenant Presley, can you see that from here?
Yes, sir.
Is this where you said the oldest son was messing with the electrical socket?
Like older.
That looks like an R to you, and not an ST.
Wait a minute, it's his handwriting.
Rick's back here telling me it says
No,
old.
no. Don't argue with me. You asked him the question. It's his handwriting, so ask him what he wrote.
Okay. Mr. Presley, does that say older or oldest?
Like older. OLDER.
Son was messing with the electrical socket? Is that right?
Yes, sir.
So that looks like a T there, right?
Yeah.
But not, that's an R here.
Let's don't cross-examine his handwriting. Come on,
I'm real allowed to point it out.
move on.
You wrote this statement back in September of 2014, September 12th, 2014, is that right?
Yes, sir, if it's on there.
Is that September 12th, 2014?
September 12, 2014, yes.
Okay. Now, you and Swisher talked about it didn't have any of this information about him having anything to do with his daughter in the statement, right?
Because during that time, we had to quickly write it. We had to because we had too much stuff going on that day. So that's all I can only recall. That's why it looked like that, like his sloppy handwriting, because we had to kind of rush to get things done because we had a lot of things going on that day.
Okay. After you got done that day, did you write a supplemental?
No, sir.
The next day when you got to work, did you write a supplemental?
No, sir.
Any day between that day and April the 3rd, 2019, did you write a supplemental?
No, sir. No, I don't think so.
Never did, right?
No, sir.
And then on April the 3rd, 2019, that's when you met with Solicitor Hubbard,
Yes, sir.
Suzanne Bays,
Yes, sir.
and Matt Martin,
Yes, sir.
and there was another guy there named Sean Graham.
Yes, sir. I think so.
You met with all of them, and that's when you recalled these new details, right?
I remember the details. I only write what I recall that day. I only write what I could write, but I remember the details clearly afterwards.
You never reported them to anybody until
No.
you met with them, right?
No, sir.
Is that right?
That's right.
Okay. You didn't tell the psychiatrist at MSU?
No, sir. They did. They got their own agenda to do, so we don't interfere and involve in that one.
Okay. DeShiro Navin, one of the caseworkers,
DeShiro.
you never told him?
No.
Jim Page, one of the caseworkers, you never told him?
No, sir.
Now, your statement didn't include anything, you don't remember anything about him saying that the kids were going to cut their mother up and feed them to the dog, right?
No, sir.
You didn't hear anything about that?
No.
Now, these in. I've asked a couple questions. These are Tim's medical records, part of Tim's medical records.
You can ask him if he knows anything about his medical records. If he does,
Okay. Do you recognize these as being medical records from the South Carolina Department of Corrections?
I object to that question. If he knows it's Tim Jones' medical records and he has knowledge of what those records are, otherwise I object. This is the wrong witness.
Oh,
No, we don't get involved in medical.
Okay. You don't get involved in
We
medical.
get involved in medical.
fair enough.
So if medical says that they talked to Tim Jones at 12:50 on
Objection.
9/12/2014, that would be inaccurate, right?
Talk to him on 12:50.
Right.
Judge, I object.
Wait a minute. I didn't hear your question. He said object, and you kept right on going.
He's now going into the medical stuff. I object.
I'm asking what time, if he's aware, if medical says that they saw him at 12:50,
All right.
that would be inaccurate.
We need a break. I want y'all to step in the jury room. All righty. All ready to continue? Mr. Young, you're still your witness.
Thank you, So, Lieutenant Presley, if all this happened when he first got there, it would have been impossible for him to have met with a nurse at 12:50, right?
At 12:50. Yes. Now, can you give me the times
Sure,
of that? Okay, what nurse was it?
12:50 p.m.
What nurse or who was the examination?
Timothy G. Burkhardt, registered nurse 1,
What was the date? The same date?
9/12/14.
Okay. Anything after the incident up to the time we had on?
Sure, I'll get to this in time.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. But that one would have been impossible, right?
It would, yes.
And it would have been impossible for him to have a physical exam on 9/12/14 at 13:03, which you understand to be 1:03 p.m., right?
Yes.
That would have been impossible, right?
Yes.
It would have been impossible for him to have a mental health clinic meeting at 9/12/14 at 13:08 with Wanda F. Sermons and Tanya Hill.
Yes.
It would have been impossible for him to have another meeting with a mental health clinic on 9/12/15 at 14:07 by Wanda Sermons.
Yes. But can I just say something?
Sure.
If they did all that, that would be probably before he came to us, because there is a different medical area too. So I can't recall those times because we have 3 different medical areas.
But
Because-
I thought you met him with the deputies coming into the building for the first time.
MSU,
Sterling there.
but I don't. You're right, but I don't know where they carried him before, so I can't answer that.
I thought you said he came from Lexington. He had Lexington.
See, this is a closed. MSU is a closed area, so we don't see what's coming in, what's coming in. We see what's coming in and what's going out, but we don't see what's going in the area now. If they did something prior before he came to us, I don't know anything about.
So you think he went someplace else in Kirkland?
If he came to Kirkland before he came to us, they probably take him to medical to another medical facility before he came to us, somewhere on Kirkland compound. If that's possible, I don't know. I can't tell you.
So he was still under the care of Lexington County deputies being
I
walked
don't-
around the Kirkland.
I
That's your testimony, though, right?
No, I mean, he's not going to be walking around if he entered into Kirkland. So I can't tell you what happened. Could be in a confined area to, I don't know what's going on the outside.
Okay. So maybe it wasn't right when he got there?
Maybe what say
Maybe
that.
it wasn't right when he got there when y'all had this incident? Is that what you're saying?
We only do what we do when we coming to us. I don't know what else happened prior before he came. So what you reading, maybe that happened early before he came. I can't recall.
Is your area called Kirkland Max?
Maximum security unit,
Yeah.
yes.
So it would have been impossible for him to have an inside appointment on 9/12/14 at 1407 in Kirkland Max with Dr. Beverly Wood.
It could, because everybody was there, so they probably could. They could have just talked to him prior to then.
They talked to him like outside the gate.
Well, what we do, he still, like you said, the leg ain't better chain the whole 9 yard. You have me in there. If the psychiatrist or anybody want to see him, they see him one-on-one in the type of room.
Okay. Is that before y'all did the strip search and all that stuff?
Afterwards.
I thought you did all that first.
Yeah, but afterwards.
Okay, now this was at 1407, right?
I don't know.
Okay. If there was a report about him meeting with Juan Sermons, a registered nurse, at 1408 in Kirkland Max, that would have been impossible, right?
Not necessarily. See, this is what I'm trying to think, because it's been a while.
Has been.
When they brought him in, everybody was there. So I know a nurse was there, the psychiatrist was there, all Director Sterling was there. So I'm trying to think back. When we bring him in, we bring him to medical, but everybody could have still had a little talk with him. So I can't recall because there was too much going on. But all those individuals you named was there.
Okay. But all the other stuff that you didn't write down, you independently remember.
Yeah, I remember.
Okay. Ready for some dollars? Sure. That's all the questions I have.
All right,
No further questions?
may step down.
Thank you, sir. State calls Officer Ben Boyd.
Mr. Young, you have that exhibit. Go ahead and have a seat, sir. Once you're seated, state your full name, spelling loud.
My name is Ben Boyd, B-O-I-D.
Mr. Boyd, Officer Boyd, where do you
Yes.
work?
Kirkland Institution, and I work for the Department of Corrections for the state of South Carolina.
How long have you been working there?
6.5 or 7 years, just about at Kirkland, and another 2 at another institution.
Back on September 12th, 2014, were you working together with Mr. Lieutenant Presley when the defendant, Tim Jones, was brought in?
Yes,
Do you remember him coming in? Is it the maximum security area? That's where you're working? What do you recall when he was
Yes.
brought in? What do you recall when he was brought in?
excuse me, say that again?
What do you recall when he was brought in?
I recall that the van pulled up. I was on the outer side of the Sallyport gate as the van was backing in. And then he came in, and then the sheriff's deputy got out. And she opened the door, and she was getting the rest of his equipment, and he jumped down out of the van. I had him by the arm, and I escorted him in the door.
Remember what time that was?
I can't remember what time it was. It could have been just before lunch or somewhere around there, because I was just coming back with the food for the other 48 inmates that's in MSU. I mean,
You ended up writing a statement at some point?
yes, I did.
If I show you time you wrote, is that what you're writing?
Yes, it is.
When did you say this occurred?
About 2:20 p.m.
Okay. All right. Do you remember inmate Jones saying anything?
Yes.
You remember him becoming a little emotional?
Yeah, he was emotional, a little, crying a little bit at first. And then,
What, if anything, was Lieutenant Presley doing at that point?
well, Lieutenant Presley had a lot of multiple duties anyway. And then he was standing there at the gate, And then once that door closed, and then we opened the door, him and Sergeant Hawkins came in and we strip searched him. We check all his items, sit him in a, he sits in a metal chair, make sure he doesn't have any metal on his body. And then we put him in restraints, and then we take him out of Sallyport and get ready to have him medical to see him next.
What, if anything, so he went to medical after that?
So once he came through the gate, we were standing there with Lieutenant Presley, and then, Lieutenant Presley, like I said, multiple duties. He's looking into medical. He's asking them, are they ready to see him? And, we're all kind of in the same area.
Right.
We're all pretty much together.
Before inmate Jones leaves you, what, if anything, do you hear him say?
He said that his son was messing with an electrical socket. And in his mind, he thought he was trying to hurt something, and he killed him. And he put his hands up like this, like, showing how he did it. And then he put his hands down, and then he said his daughter walked in.
What did he say about that? Or did you hear the rest of that?
I heard him say the daughter, and then it was just like, I'm still turning around, checking on other things that's going on. And then I came back to him for that minute, but I
Mentioned the daughter?
yes.
Okay. You didn't hear what happened to the daughter? From him?
From him,
If you don't remember, that's fine.
I don't really remember right now at this time.
Okay, that's fair enough. But you remember him talking about his son and an electrical outlet.
Yeah, and his daughter coming in, walking in on the scene.
What did he do to his son with the electrical outlet?
Well, he said he choked his son. He choked his son out, with his bare hands.
Thank you, Officer Boyd.
Officer Boyd,
Yes.
so you're there when the Lexington County van pulls up with Tim, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And you say he gets out with a sheriff's deputy,
Yeah.
and y'all have to, I guess, strip searching, so take all his Lexington County stuff off,
Once he comes in the building.
right?
Yeah.
But you're there when that happens,
Mm-hmm.
and you give them all that stuff, and then they, I guess, leave, and y'all put your stuff on him?
Yes.
And so the intake procedure, you say you do that, and then you sit them in a metal chair to make sure that they don't have
Any type of metal in their body, because people do hide stuff in their body.
Sure.
Cell phones, whatever.
And who is there when he gets there?
Like I said, I was at the back door, and I said something, and Sergeant Hawkins was standing there, then Presley was standing there, and then we all came in with the sheriff's deputy, closed the door.
How about Officer Stroman?
Stroman was outside, what we call on the tier, on the rock. He's just out there
So was he
for a
there?
minute. It was like Stroman was doing a couple more duties. It's 48 people in that building, and we have to keep our eyes on everybody while that's going on, no matter who was back there. The officers that work on the wing have to go on the wing and check on death row inmates or anybody else that's down there.
But you understand that your report says that Officer Stroman was there also, correct?
Yeah, he was on duty.
Okay. So you four were the only officers on duty?
It was 4 of us, and somebody was in the control room at that time. It was in the control room, opening and closing the gates. I can't recall who was. Somebody stepped in there temporarily, but it was a day when we were pretty, short.
And on September 12th of 2014, I guess you wrote your report at 3:30, correct?
No, that's 2.
Well,
Then,
it's not the time of the report is 3:30,
time of the report 3:30. Time of the incident is around 2.
2:20,
Yeah.
I guess is what you have listed, correct?
Yeah.
And how long have you been with SEDC?
8 years.
8 years? And you've been trained to write truthful, accurate, and complete reports?
Yes.
And you wrote a report about an hour and 10 minutes afterwards, correct?
Probably was about that time.
And yet there's nothing in your report that says anything about the daughter, does it?
No.
And in fact, your report says that he killed his kids with his own hands after his son was messing around with his electrical socket, correct?
Sounds.
And that's all you wrote?
Yeah, somebody told me I had to write a quick incident report because I was in the middle of it was time to feed and it was time to pull some other people that was on the rec field so long, that because he was in the middle.
It was busy at that time.
Yeah.
And so you went back and you wrote a supplemental report later when it wasn't that busy?
No, I didn't.
How about the next day?
No, I didn't.
Ever?
No, I didn't. I just wrote that report and nobody asked me to rewrite it or anything.
And at some point in time, you met with the solicitor's office, I guess, April 3rd of 2019, correct?
Yes.
And we're talking about two at the table, and I guess Matt Martin and Sean Graham, who I guess is not in here right now, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And,
Tim said he is.
Yes.
sorry, she's got to take down
Yeah.
everything you say. And you told them that Lieutenant Presley asked what happened. Is that correct?
Yes.
And then you said that after that, that you and Presley were talking about how Jones had arrived at SCDC without the media
All right,
following.
if I can interject with an objection, just to clarify, because of your ruling
Yeah,
on the question.
sure. Fair enough, keep going.
And you had indicated that Tim was upset and crying during this time.
He was crying more when he came in the first gate. When he was standing there with us while we was waiting for medical, he kind of was calming down a little bit because I asked him about the escort. I did ask him about the escort because many times we seen, they come with a lot of people, 2 or 3 people. And he said his escort went left and they went right, faking him out or something. And then Presley came in and asked him what happened. He thought he came in the middle of that conversation. He didn't ask him what happened to ask him what happened to him.
So it would be inaccurate if the notes from the solicitor's office indicate that Boyd stated that Jones began talking when Presley
Your Honor, he's
asked what
publishing,
happened.
I object, he's publishing a document now.
Judge, I'm just asking.
No. Don't hit a witness. I mean, you can ask him the questions, but
Judge, I'm trying to. He just said something different.
no, I don't know that he did. Rephrase your question.
And if it says Presley asked what happened, and then it says Boyd stated prior to this, he and Presley were talking about how Jones had arrived at SCDC without the media finding out. Is that incorrect?
It's not incorrect. Because Presley stepped away from him for a second and then came back and Hawkins was standing there and I was standing there and Hawkins is CIT trained too, so he was talking to him and smiling and he didn't ask him anything about what he did or what he done. We never do that when people come in the back door. We might know what you done, but we never do.
Not part of the intake procedures?
No.
And so you see him come in at 2:20. He couldn't have met with medical or anyone else prior to that.
If you had a diagram of MSU, it's possible.
But I thought you said he came in on, or you watched him come in on the stand.
When he was standing there with us, if you turn around right now, medical would be right behind you. Behind the judge would be where people were fingerprinting him and they were out there, medical was talking to him, either the psychiatrist. It all was done in the same building. Mr. Jones is a safekeeper. He couldn't be on the regular yard and come through the regular process. So he came back to MSU and everybody came to him.
And you had made mention of death row, but in 2014, death row wasn't at that location, was it?
No, but we had people that were on death row before that, after their death date, they get to go somewhere else because they committed crimes against officers or other inmates in the jail, so they come to Kirkland.
And that's the majority of those people in that MSU or someone who has gotten in trouble in some other location within Department of Corrections, and that's basically the supermax there.
Yes.
So Tim was different than that.
I don't know if he was different because there was another safekeeper on the same wing as him from Chester County, I think it was.
But a safekeeper is not someone who's gotten in trouble in SEDC.
Yeah, he's never been in SCDC and never got in trouble.
That's all the questions I have.
No further questions. Thank you, officer.
Thank you very much.
Your Honor, this is that matter that,
So we need a kind of extended break, do we not? We're going to do about 15, 20 minutes. The jury's, all right. Y'all in the jury room for a little extended time. If y'all want to step outside, you may. We'll have enough time to do that. Something I've got to deal with. Don't talk about the case.